Hello, candle lovers. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Greg, and this is all about candles. Happy Sunday, everyone, and happy Mother's Day as well. Every Sunday, I like to do the weekly wax wrap-up. This is a rundown of all the candles that I finished burning this week, how they smelled, how they performed, all of that good stuff. I've got a lot of candles to get through again this week, folks. I have this bad habit at the beginning of a season. All the new candles are coming in, and so I start burning a lot of them. And then, especially with 3 wicks, I have a tendency to kind of stop or forget about them once I get down to that 1/3 mark. And so then towards the end of a season, I'm in a rush to finish up all the candles that I didn't quite finish burning yet. That is definitely what has happened again this week. So let's just get going. Finished up this Radiant Sky from Bath and Body Works. This has been sitting around in storage for a while. I like the packaging on this. It's so colorful and vibrant and bright. We had a cute lid on there as well. Yeah, this candle came out in 2022. I'm not too sure why it was hanging out for so long, but it caught my eye when I was bringing out my stuff for the spring and summer season. So I decided this was the year I was gonna burn her. And man, this is a sweet lychee candle. The scent notes on it are rays of sunshine, golden mango, and juicy lychee. And I don't normally like really bright, sweet fruit fragrances, but I do love lychee fruits. I love a good lychee ice cream or a lychee popsicle. And this is extremely highly pitched and very sweet and very smooth. But the lychee note in here I actually think is really quite nice and fairly authentic. I can't say I pick up that much on the golden mango. I guess there's kind of a smooth sweetness to it that kind of brings mango to mind. To be honest, I do kind of wish, being called Radiant Sky, I do kind of wish there was a bit more of an airiness to this fragrance, and maybe a little bit more of a watery note in that lychee fragrance, but it's really just a very straightforward, bright, fruity lychee note. Anyways, moving on to performance, I thought that this candle did really well. It was a very nice, clean burn. I burned it all the way down to the very bottom there. As you can see, there really wasn't any sooting or dirtiness in the wax happening. Really nice, lovely, clean burn. I'd say that the strength in the throw on it was probably about a 6.5. In my more open space, definitely had a presence to it. To be honest, I don't think I would have wanted this to have been stronger than a 6.5. It was just so bright and sweet and fruity. I thought a 6.5 was perfectly acceptable for this one. Probably not a repurchase for me, but I'm glad to have experienced it once. I don't know if this candle will ever come back, but I think I'd recommend it. If you like a nice sweet lychee fruit, I have no reason not to recommend Radiant Sky. I also finished up burning Greenhouse Fern from Bath and Body Works. I actually really liked the way that this whole collection of candles looked, and I thought there were some good fragrances in this collection as well. Kind of a cute, hammered metal lid on this one. This candle was poured in 2023, and the scent notes on it are lush bergamot, violet leaves, and jasmine blooms, which makes it sound like it's gonna be so floral, and there's definitely a floral vibe to this candle. I'd say that it's kind of a soft white floral overall. I think it's mostly jasmine when it comes to the floral note, and there was a little bit of a citrusy touch to it as well, but predominantly this was a very green, sort of leafy smelling candle. I like the fragrance quite a bit. It does definitely sort of give you that sort of green, lush, humid, sort of greenhouse vibe. You know what I mean? And I love candles like that. I love the smell of a greenhouse. Oh my goodness. Whenever I'm near a greenhouse, I always want to go inside and just breathe it in nice and deep. Something about that lush, green, humid atmosphere I just adore. And this candle did a good job of smelling like that and sort of invoking that greenhouse vibe. Unfortunately, the performance just wasn't fantastic. I wish that this candle had done a little bit better. I burned it down until about this point, and then I put the rest of it in my candle crock, which is why those wicks are so wacky. We got some wacky wicks on here. I put the last bit of it in a candle crock because I wanted to see if I would get more strength and throw out of it in there, which is why the wicks traveled so much. I'd say that when I was burning it in my more open space, it was like a 5 or a 5.5 for strength and throw, which is when I moved it into the bedroom, and even in there, I was maybe getting a 5.5 or a 6 out of it. So then when I had about an inch of it left, I put it in my candle crock, and honestly, even in there, it was about the same, maybe like a 5.5 or a 6. When I was burning it, it was a really nice clean burn, like no soot stains or discolored wax really, just not enough strength or throw for me. No matter where I put it or how I tried to get that fragrance out of it, it really maxed down at a 6. And even saying a 6, I feel like I'm being fairly generous. So yeah, this wouldn't be a repurchase for me or a recommendation for you, which is such a shame because I really, really liked this fragrance. I also finished up burning a fresh mint and tea tree from Bath & Body Works, and I loved this fragrance, you guys. Boring lid on this one. The scent notes are bright spearmint, tea tree, and rosemary. This was poured in 2023, another one I'd been hanging on to for a while. As you can see, there's a lot of like finishing things up happening here. I thought this one was so nice. It is a nice spearmint note. It's definitely not like a sharp peppermint note. It's a nice, smooth, and bright spearmint. And the tea tree is really nicely balanced as well. I think tea tree is one of those fragrances. Some people kind of love it, some people kind of hate it. I really love the smell of tea tree. Like, I love tea tree oil. And then the rosemary gives it a little bit of an herbaceousness. To be honest, I wish there was a little bit more of an herbal aspect to this fragrance. To me, it's pretty straightforward spearmint and tea tree, but I don't mind that. I thought it was really, really lovely and actually quite authentic, honestly. Now, it's not like a leafy green minty note. It's definitely more of like, probably like, I don't want to necessarily say like a chewing gum spearmint, but it's like a straightforward spearmint note. Do you know what I mean? I think if there was a little bit more of that rosemary, a little bit more of an herbaceousness or a leafiness, it would have given it even more dimension that I would have loved. But all that being said and done, it was a really nice, smooth, straightforward mint and tea tree note. It gives me a little bit of the vibe of that eucalyptus and spearmint candle from BBW that's always around, except replace that eucalyptus with the tea tree, and that's very much the vibe that you're getting here. Yeah, I really liked this one. It was nice, it was bright, it was smooth, it was minty, it was such a refreshing fragrance, you know what I mean? Moving on to performance, this did all right. I'd say that the strength and throw was really good. In my more open space, it was probably like a 6.5 for strength and throw. In the bedroom, it definitely got up to a 7. So adequate strength and throw, really nice and refreshing. It definitely had a presence to it. However, it was a little bit dirty. It had those really thick, ropey wicks on it. And once I got down to this point here, the wax was starting to get a little bit discolored. And so I called it a day before things got a little bit too weird. But for the most part, I think it was a really nice clean burn. I started burning this candle at like the beginning of the season, so I'm having a hard time with my memory. I think it may have dudded out a little bit, but then when I just let it be, it eventually corrected itself and burned pretty nicely up until the point that it was burning too nicely and started sooting and getting a little bit out of control. So yeah, had to call it a day a little bit early, but I still like this one. This would absolutely be a repurchase purchase for me if they ever brought it back, and I would recommend it too if that kind of fragrance is up your alley. I also finished up a Springtime in Paris. I've got a feeling that this must have been at a deep discount during semi-annual sale at some point, which is the reason why I picked it up, because even on cold, this fragrance isn't super appealing to me, but I think that the jar and the packaging is just beautiful. This whole collection was gorgeous. Boring lid on that one. The scent notes on Springtime in Paris are soft peach, lotus blossom, and fresh bergamot, but I don't really get all that, to be honest with you. I'd say mostly this is a peach candle. It's a very fruity candle. I don't pick up that much on a lotus blossom or even the bergamot so much, which I think that as a concept, this is kind of weird. For me, Springtime in Paris should be more of a like fresh, airy floral candle. And this is just giving me lots of fruit, and not just peach, but I really pick up on there being apple and pear in this candle as well. Kind of like a slightly like watery stone fruit almost. And it comes across as a little bit artificial. I mean, this isn't the type of fragrance that is in my wheelhouse in the first place, but I don't think this one's particularly well executed or balanced, to be honest with you. Like, it's not like super offensive or anything, just not my type of fragrance. Like I said, I must have just been bewitched by the beautiful packaging and a really good semi-annual sale price point. The performance on this candle was not terrible. Like, I'd actually say it was fairly strong, probably a 7 for strength and throw. It burned pretty nice and clean up until the very end there. Things started to get discolored, but nothing terrible. I don't think this candle ever really dudded out or gave me any problems that way. In the more open space, it was probably like a 6.5. In the bedroom, it was probably a 7. So decent strength and throw, definitely had a presence. Not going to be a repurchase for me. But if you like fragrances from Bath & Body Works that are like pink apple punch, bubbly rosé, champagne toast, this might be something that you're interested in. I think it's still out in the floor now in that like kind of old-timey packaging. I also finished up a Palo Santo from Bath & Body Works. I thought that this is one of the most beautiful collections that Bath & Body Works had ever put out. There's such a painterly sort of aesthetic to these candles and a nice cream color lid. This candle just looked beautiful when it was burning. I have a full review of Palo Santo out that I just did, and I'll link to it below. In fact, I have full-length reviews out for a lot of these candles, so check the description box below if you want more details on any of these. Palo Santo is one of my favorite fragrances from Bath & Body Works. The scent notes on it are Palo Santo wood, warm amber, and soft musk. Oh, and there's a really nice, like, rich, woodsy, smoky, robust, like, aged quality to this fragrance that I just adore. It's quite low in range, and it's just a nice, like, rich, woodsy, smoky fragrance. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love this one. And this one actually just got released again in packaging that looks like this. I don't think that this packaging even compares to the beauty that was this candle, but I bought another one just because I like the fragrance so much. And it's been burning almost identically as the one that I just finished burning was. This candle's always been pretty consistent. It almost always has white wax and thin core wicks on it and doesn't give me any performance issues. It usually burns really nice and clean from top to bottom without dudding out. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about this candle. I'd say that the strength and throw on it is probably about a 7 to an 8, depending on the space that you're burning it in. There's just something so robust about this fragrance that it really delivers with some strength and throw without like completely slapping you in the face either. You know what I mean? It's just a lovely burn. Yeah, definitely a 7 in my more open area, probably about an 8 in the bedroom. Really, really nice, clean burn on that one. I actually stopped burning that one at about this point because I wanted to put it in my candle crock and just let it go off in there for a day or two, and man, I enjoyed it. Oh, I love Palo Santo. I will buy a Palo Santo candle every time that Bath & Body Works releases it. I also find that for me personally, it's one of those candles that I could burn at any season, you know, whether it's like the peak of summer or there's snow on the ground. To me, any day is a Palo Santo day. I also finished up this Festival de las Flores from Bath & Body Works. And this was part of the like heritage collection. Look at the beautiful pink lid on there. I really, really liked the sort of basket weave colored texture vibe to these candles. I thought that they were absolutely gorgeous. And this says the Flower Festival in Medellin is an incredible Colombian tradition during which the city of eternal spring, as it is known, is filled with flowers, art, dancing, and celebration. And yeah, this was part of the Hispanic Heritage Month collection, and the scent notes on it are parade of flowers, fresh blooms, and creamy tonka bean. And I absolutely love this fragrance. It's one of my favorite floral fragrances that I probably burned this spring. There was like a beautiful sort of creamy smoothness to it, probably coming from that tonka bean. It's not as highly pitched as a lot of spring floral candles are. It really sat more in like a medium range. And to sort of put my finger on what kind of flowers we're talking about here, I really get a couple different things in here. I think there could be some lily in this. I think there could be some jasmine in this. Maybe almost like a rose note as well. Like you really do pick up on a bit of a mixture of different types of florals in this fragrance, and it's balanced so nicely with like a smooth creaminess. I just thought that this was one of the most beautiful floral candles that Bath & Body Works had put out in a while, and quite frankly, it didn't get the flowers that it deserves, and I think that that's partially because it came out at such a seasonally inappropriate time. I feel like this came out in the fall, and I'd been purposefully sitting on this collection until springtime because they were all more like spring summery scents. So I was really excited to get around to burning this one, and I really, really loved it. So fresh, so floral, so creamy. It definitely sits in a bit of a different register than we're used to with our floral candles. It was much more of like a smooth, like medium register. And I love the fragrance. I wish it had performed a little bit better. I'd say that the strength and throw in my more open area maxed out at about a 6. I did have it in the bedroom for a little while. I'd say in there it maxed out at like a 6.5 probably. Overall, it was a nice clean burn. Did get a little bit of discoloration at the end there, but I'm not really seeing any soot marks or anything like that. So it burned fairly nicely and cleanly. I think that it did dud out at a certain point, and what I usually do when candles are dudding out is I just let them keep going, and eventually I find that they correct themselves, especially the ones from Bath & Body Works. So the performance was just, even though it was a nice clean burn, the performance just wasn't really where I would have liked for it to have been, unfortunately. However, I still think I would repurchase it if it came out again and put it under a candle lamp or a candle crock to see how it performs that way. It seems kind of like we're done with Bath & Body Works doing their like Heritage Month collections, because we didn't get anything for Black History Month in February, so maybe we're just not doing that anymore, which is unfortunate. By the way, I thought the Black History Month collection was a fantastic collection. I liked all 4 of the candles that were in that collection. In fact, I brought out some backups of Yumi and the Sea and Gwen's Note that I'm really excited to burn this summer. Anywho, I also finished burning up a laundry day from Bath & Body Works. I think that most of us know what this candle smells like. This was like the White Barn spring summer version that came out in 2023. The scent notes are fresh air, crisp eucalyptus, and soft lavender. And this is just a quintessential linen laundry fragrance. This has been around Bath & Body Works forever. This one is always really, really strong. I'd say that this got up to about a 9 for strength and throw. Like in a more open space, definitely clocking in at like an 8.5. If you put it in a smaller space, you're hitting like a 9. I really do like burning fragrances like this, particularly at the beginning of spring. You know, that sort of spring cleaning vibe, just having all of the windows open and getting your laundry done and cleaning out your stuff. I love a good laundry fragrance once in a while, and Laundry Day from Bath & Body Works is one that I burn probably once or twice every year. I appreciate how strong it is for sure. Pretty nice clean burn all the way down to the bottom there. Don't have any complaints about it. I'd say that Laundry Day has been a pretty consistent candle over the years. I also finished up burning on Hibiscus Waterfalls from Bath and Body Works. This came out on Candle Day. Candle Day in 2024. This candle, I really like the fragrance, but it never performs very well. It's always very light. The scent notes on it are tropical hibiscus, sweet peach nectar, and fresh waterfall mist. I'm actually kind of surprised to see that peach note in there. I guess it's peach nectar. I don't really pick up on a peach nectar. There is sort of a watery stone fruit vibe to it, but I wouldn't say that it's peach. It's definitely not that like peach note from Bath and Body Works that I do not like. It's more of like a light sort of stone fruit fragrance. There's something very watery to this fragrance, which I love. And the hibiscus is just a really nice sort of touch of a light floral. And so anyways, this candle, as much as I love the fragrance, it's always so weak when you're burning it. So I bought this candle specifically just to put in my candle crock. And I would say that in the candle crock, it definitely performs better than it was burning. It probably got up to like a 6.5 or a 7. Like when I'm cooking it in my candle crock, the entire thing has liquefied. It was the strongest that I had ever smelt this candle before. So I appreciated that. As you can see, quite a bit of the wax is missing because I had a bit of an accident. I had a bit of an accident with this candle that quite frankly I am still reeling from. Oh, you know what? I'll talk about that at the end of the video. I will talk about my traumatic wax accident at the end of this video. Let's move on. I finished burning Looking Rosy from Goose Creek. This is part of their like luxury line of candles that they just put out. I do really like all of the fragrances that I've burned so far from this collection. This one was okay. The scent notes on it are Bulgarian rose, water lily, dewy pear, and amber. And it's a pretty straightforward rose note. I can't say that I'm getting all that lily, that pear, maybe a little bit of a light and bright amber in here. This reminds me very much of the rose note that you get in Rosewater and Ivy from Bath and Body Works, except Rosewater and Ivy has sort of like that green ivy, sort of lush fragrance note to it, whereas this is really just that rose note. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was anything spectacular, but it was a fairly nice, straightforward rose fragrance. Performance-wise, I would say that it did okay. I mean, this is what a lot of Goose Creek candles look like by the time that you've finished burning them. A little bit of dirtiness in there, a little bit of murkiness. You know, you can kind of see there's a little bit of a ring around the jar from, you know, when the wax gets dirty. and it hardens and then you burn it again, it leaves kind of a ring stain around the side of the jar. Not the cleanest burn ever, not what I would expect from a luxury line of candles, that's for sure. I'd say that the strength and the throw on this though was pretty good. I'd say it was like a 7 in my bedroom and probably like a solid 6.5 or so in my more open space. Yeah, I'd say it definitely averaged around a 7 for sure, so not bad for strength and throw. I like the sort of contemporary look of this candle. Wouldn't be a repurchase for me, honestly, and I can't say it would be a recommendation for you. There's so many rose candles out there, and there's rose candles out there that I think are better than this. In fact, I'm burning that bridal candle from Bath & Body Works right now, Always and Forever. I really like that candle. I think that candle, this Always and Forever, is a nicer rose note, and it's also stronger, and it's burning much more cleanly. So that's a candle that I would probably recommend over this. I also prefer, like fresh cut roses from Yankee. I really like Rosewater and Ivy from Bath & Body Works. So not a terrible candle, just not a repurchase or a recommendation for me on that Goose Creek one. I also finished up burning Tuscan Vineyard from Goose Creek, and this probably was the second time that I've burned this candle. I thought that this was a fairly pretty collection. Got a cute lid on there. Oh, you know what? I don't think that this is the lid. No, this isn't the lid that this candle originally came with. I'm not too sure how it ended up on there, but this definitely looks like a Bath & Body Works lid to me. So ignore that. I believe it just had like a regular metal stamped like Goose Creek lid on it. The scent notes on Tuscan Vineyard are Sangiovese grapes, ripe blackberries, Tuscan wine, and vineyard greens. Ooh, I'm a big winey, you guys. I love to drink wine, and I like that they called out the specific varietal that they're intending to get here, a Sangiovese grape, because that is a grape varietal that you can only get in Italy, and we're talking about a Tuscan Vineyard here, and I like this candle. The majority of this candle is like a sort of deep grape note, and there is something about the grape note that I find just a touch artificial, but it doesn't ruin the candle for me because it's balanced out really nicely with quite a bit of like a lush and green vibe to it that I really enjoy. It really does smell like you are out in a vineyard and the sun is shining. If I could change one thing about this candle, I would tweak that grape note just a touch, but otherwise I really enjoyed it. And I appreciated how strong this candle was too. It performed quite nicely. It did get fairly dirty at the end there. I'd say that the strength and throw in my more open space was a very solid 7. In the bedroom, it was an 8. But once it started to get discolored and murky, I put it under the candle lamp in my kitchen. And in that, it was definitely like an 8 for strength and throw as well. This will be a repurchase for me and a recommendation for you. Not bad at all. Also finished up this Pop-Tarts candle from Goose Creek. This is Frosted Wildberry Pop-Tarts. I told myself that I wasn't gonna buy any of the Pop-Tart or M&M's candles from Goose Creek, and then they went on sale at a killer of a deal. I think that they were selling them off for like $7 or $8 Canadian, which was the lowest I had ever seen. And I do like melting gourmand fragrances in my kitchen. I'm not big into gourmand fragrances, but I only ever lamp fragrances in my kitchen, and I like having gourmands in there because it smells like somebody actually might be like baking or cooking something good, because I'm certainly not. But this Pop-Tarts Frosted Wildberry was a miss for me fragrance-wise. The scent notes are warm pastry, wild berry filling, frosting, and sugar. Oof, and yeah, I didn't even I didn't even lamp this one so much so that I've sucked all of the fragrance out of it. It's very, I mean, I don't know what I was expecting, you guys. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was hoping that it would be a little bit more of like a bakery, like a starchy, like a crusty, you know, those Pop-Tarts. Man, I haven't had a Pop-Tart probably for like, it's got to be over 20 years at least. I was hoping it'd be more like a flaky pastry with like a nice jammy like berry fragrance. And there is a little bit of a bakery aspect to this, but for the most part, I found it to be like a very, very artificial, like blueberry, blackberry, raspberry sort of situation, which is really, you know, really unfortunate. It almost seemed like a little bit medicinal, like that like grape or that berry medicine that you used to get when you were a child, which is really the kiss of death for me. I think I only put this under the lamp for like 2 8-hour sessions before I was just like, I don't think that I can do this one anymore. So, you know, I can't really speak to the performance in terms of like cleanliness, but man, it was strong, a little bit too strong for me. I'd say my kitchen's about a medium size under the lamp. Once the whole thing had liquefied, it was definitely getting up to like an 8 or an 8.5 for strength and throw, which was a little bit much for me. This wouldn't be a repurchase or a recommendation, but hey, I like to try things and I can't really like, you know, there's very little about my fragrance preferences that would lead me to think that I would like a Wildberry frosted Pop-Tart candle. So the onus is really on me for even burning it in the first place or even purchasing it in the first place. I also finished up this candle from Illume, and oh my goodness, this candle was fantastic. This is Hinoki and Sage. I really, really like Illume candles, you guys. They're actually probably one of my favorite brands. I don't get them that often because I like to find them on sale. I usually find these at Winners, Marshalls, Home Sense. They're usually around $12.99, $14.99, like somewhere around there. They are 11.8 ounces, so almost 12 ounces. And they have this really neat format where it's like there's an outer sort of case, and then inside there's a tin with a completely different design to it. And I always think that they do really, really interesting, like abstract designs on their candles. And this is the format that I've had the most luck with Illume when it comes to like strength and throw. I think probably because the diameter is so wide, even though it's a single wick, the diameter is quite wide. So this is the format that I'm usually able to get the most strength and throw out of. The scent notes, it says, grounded in soothing cypress with a heart of gathered garden herbs kissed with salted citrus. Yeah, Hinoki and Sage. Hinoki can have a little bit of a sweetness to it, sometimes almost a bit of a eucalyptus vibe, which I don't really get from this, but there is a little bit of that sort of like almost like a cooling sensation to it that is similar to a eucalyptus note. And this is very robust, very herbaceous, very woodsy, and very strong. This was a lovely, sort of deep fragrance. Yeah, and there's definitely a heck of a lot of cypress happening in there, and a lot of herbaceousness from that sage. And it's got sort of a dryness or an aged quality to it as well as that Palo Santo candle. Man, yeah. This Palo Santo candle and this Hinoki and Sage are my two favorite candles that I finished burning this week for sure. They're the winners of the weekly wax wrap up this week by far. This is just so lovely, woodsy, foresty, robust. I think there's a little bit of a smokiness in here too, and a really nice, like, textured, like, dry herbaceousness. Oh my God, this is lovely. And also, in other good news, I would have to say that this is one of the strongest Illume candles that I've ever burned. It performed so well, and it was quite a clean burn as well. At the end there, you can see that the wax got a little bit discolored and left some marks along the vessel, so it wasn't perfect. I was putting this candle in a hurricane, and I did notice that the problem with it is that once it's sort of pooled out properly, which would take probably about an hour and a half, even in a hurricane. Once it pooled out properly, it would be great for about an hour, but then it would start sooting a little bit. So you had to limit your burn time on this the same way that you limit your burn time on like a 3-wick candle from Bath and Body Works or Goose Creek, because if you let it go too long after it pooled out, it did start sooting and getting a little bit dirty. However, for the most part, I really have no complaints on the performance because, man, this is one of the strongest Illume candles I've ever burned. When it was in a hurricane in my bedroom, I'd say it was like a 7.5, maybe almost even an 8 for strength and throw. That's being pretty generous. It was strong though. Like hurricane, bedroom, 7, solid 7, 7.5 for strength and throw. When it was in my more open area in a hurricane, I'd say it was like a 6.5 or a 7 for strength and throw. This candle had a very nice, unique, like robust presence to it, and I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a repurchase for me and absolutely a recommendation for you. You know who I think would really like this candle? Sarita from Coffee and Candles. If you're watching, girl, Hinoki and Sage, I know that she likes Illume a lot. Yeah, this was really nice. I'd have to say that this was actually my favorite candle out of this whole bunch. This is my favorite one that I finished burning this week. And usually Illume does okay for strength and throw. I always just put single wicks in a hurricane, almost just as a matter of habit. I find that single wicks do well in a hurricane because it helps them pool out in a more reasonable amount of time and also increases their strength and throw. I should have given this a try without a hurricane to see how it would have done. Because yeah, this was one of the strongest Illume candles I've ever burned. I'd say that this format from Illume, you're usually looking at about a 6 for strength and throw. So I usually put them in a hurricane in a smaller to a medium space. But this one performed kind of like your average, like 3-wick from like Bath and Body Works or Goose Creek. So I was really, really, really happy with that one. Anyways, that's all I've got for you folks today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. I know I have a lot of moms that follow this channel, so a happy Mother's Day to you. I honestly don't know how you do it. And for all you single moms out there, I really don't know how you do it because I can barely take care of myself. So a happy Mother's Day, everyone. We really appreciate all the great moms out there, and I have so many cool moms that follow this channel, so mwah to you. Pretty typical Sunday for me, gym, laundry, errands, boyfriend time. We are going over to my mom's house tonight for a little bit of a Mother's Day dinner. I always get her like a big basket of flowers for Mother's Day. That's what she wants because this is around the time that she starts going out to my family has like a summer place out at Pine Lake, and my parents spend all summer there. And so for Mother's Day every year, I always just bring her a big, huge basket, like a hanging basket of flowers to take out to the lake, and it lasts her all summer long. And she updates me throughout the summer on how it's doing and how beautiful it looks and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, pretty typical Sunday for me, but I am really looking forward to going over to see my mom and giving her a big hug and a big kiss. And then when we get back home, we'll be catching up on our TV. The Last of Us is so good. Oh, and you know what else I've been really into is Andor, strangely enough. Boyfriend's a bit of a Star Wars nerd. I've never been a Star Wars guy, but on the Disney Channel, there is this new Star Wars series called Andor, and it is extremely well done. It doesn't really remind me of Star Wars at all. Like, you do not see people like fighting with lightsabers and like Luke, I am your father, and like lots of big like battleship battles. Like you're not getting a lot of that. It almost reminds me of like a Game of Thrones show, but in space. Like it's a lot of like interpersonal drama and political stuff and a lot of subterfuge going on and a lot of like multiple identities that people have, and it's really beautifully shot, well written. The music is phenomenal and it's so dramatic, and it's a bit of a slow burn, but there's lots of big payoffs. I really recommend Andor, even if you are not a Star Wars person. If you're into sort of like slow moving political thrillers, it is really actually quite good. I'm looking forward to catching up on that one tonight. Oh, and I was gonna tell you guys about my wax accident. I want to hear your stories about your wax accidents, because a waxident. A waxident. Because, you know, if you burn candles all the time, particularly if you're using like candle crocks and candle lamps all the time, you're at some point quite likely bound to have a waxident, and there is just nothing worse. So I had this sitting under a candle lamp on like my dining room table, which isn't usually where I like lamp or I crock my candles, but I do keep a candle lamp on the dining room table. And I was, you know, as I said during the wrap up, I bought this Hibiscus Waterfalls specifically to put under lamps and in crocks, and kind of used it almost as like a supplemental fragrance when I was burning other sort of floral or aquatic fragrances, and I really enjoyed it that way. But I don't usually put fragrances on my dining room table under a candle lamp, but that's where this one was. And I went to take it out, and that was my first mistake. Like, what you really should be doing is turning the candle lamp off and letting the wax harden before you move it. But stupid Greg, I wanted to get rid of it and sort of reset the space. And so I took it away from the candle lamp, and then I bumped my arm on the back of my black leather chair, and this is how much wax spilled out of it. Like, mother. Oh, you guys, on my dining room table, on my leather chair, and on my area rug. Oh God, I should have taken some pictures of it, but I was so freaking mad at myself. I think I spent about 2 hours trying to clean up the mess. You know, like I had a plastic like card that I was like trying to gently scrape it off of the dining room table, which is tempered glass, thank goodness. And so the table I managed to like clean up good as new. However, the leather chair and the area rug did not make it out. It was really bad, you guys. The chair, you can kind of like I cleaned it up, but there is still sort of like a faded mark from where the wax hit. And in like lower like lighting, I guess it's not really that noticeable, but it's gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna have to get a replacement. And my area rug completely ruined. What I've done for the time being is I like turned the rug, I moved everything off of it, and I was like trying to scrape the wax out of it and like even using scissors to maybe cut a little bit of it out, and I think I just made the problem even worse. So what I have done for the time being is I moved my dining room table, I moved everything, and I turned the rug around so that the bad part is like close to the wall now, in the spot that you don't really like see as much. But long story short, I am now in the market for a new area rug because it is ruined, you guys. It's ruined. Oh my God, I'm still so mad at myself. I don't think I'm ever gonna let myself off the hook for that. How stupid of me to be putting it in that spot and then moving it, because I'm not used to like moving candles around with that candle lamp, and the chair was there, and so upsetting, you guys. Have you guys had any really bad waxidents? Because it would make me feel better if you were to share your traumatic waxident stories in the comments section. Let me know what the worst waxident that you've ever had was. The good thing is that at least, thank God, this was just like a white colored wax. My goodness, if it had been like a dark colored, a red wax, oh my goodness gracious me. Yeah, it was really, really bad. That is by far the worst waxident I've ever had. And I guess honestly, in all of the years that I've been burning candles and my bad habits when it comes to like moving them when they're like all melty and full, it's actually kind of surprising that that is the first really, really big waxident that I've ever had. But man, I am still kicking myself. I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to forgive myself, you guys. What a mess. Anyways, that's all I have for you folks today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. You can follow me on Instagram at allaboutcandles. You can email your burning questions to allaboutcandles@gmail.com. If you could like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. That would mean the world to me. Let me know about your worst waxident in the comment section below. And until next time, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, you guys. Bye now.